back to Out of the Rough. I'm joined by a legend at the Boys and Girls Club, Jim Ventress. 29 years of service for the Boys and Girls Club. Outstanding. And one of his sidekicks, volunteers, Gary Saenger with Saenger Associates. And boy, 29 years, you saw a lot. And 2 facilities that were opened up, New Hall and Sierra Vista. Sierra Vista being a really big facility on a junior high campus. Correct. How important is that?
Huge. When we were trying to expand in Canyon Country, Bob Lee was the superintendent, and he was on the committee. And we were looking at different sites and properties, but the building was going to be too big to be put on a middle school until he asked me the question, are there any clubs that have partnerships? And I said, yes, San Dieguito actually built a club on a middle school and attached it to their gymnasium. Same thing up in Fresno. So we went on a couple of field trips. Mm-hmm. And then when we came back, he said, I needed classrooms because they were putting all these bungalows up. So we just got together and said, all right, if we build the Boys and Girls Club, but take out of the 27,000 square feet, 14,000, let's share it. Mm-hmm. And partner. Took us 8 months to design the building, and then all kind of things started falling in our lap. For example, the state actually had money at that time. And
crazy, huh?
What
a concept.
and they gave us over $1.1 million for the gymnasium because we were a public-private partnership.
Great facility, by the way.
Oh yeah, and it's shared by not only the club and the school, but Park and Recs have access to it. AYSO has their headquarters, all their board meetings are there.
We used to go there for my son's basketball games. Yeah,
sure. And the scouts use it regularly, so it's a real community center, but it's on a middle school, and for a lot of those young kids that outgrow daycare, they have a beautiful facility that allows them to pick and choose what they want to do after school.
Yeah, phenomenal facility there. And the other one, of course, is in New Hall.
Oh, yes, yeah.
And you have an interesting story with Bob, Captain Bob.
Oh, yeah, Captain Bob Spear, and this was at the time, the late 80s. 89 is when he came aboard, and we were experiencing some gang problems in East New Hall and Valverde. We've had some deaths and some shootings and a real McCormick King gangs were having allegiance with both of our gangs, so it was getting pretty hot. And Bob came in and started the gang task force, anti-gang task force. He got the Cobra cops in before we really needed them, and he was very interested in this facility we were going to put up because he believed prevention is a key. And so we were at New Hall Park, and I just said, well, this is a place we're kind of looking at. And we were like walking through the park, and I said, that smell?
Did you smell something?
That's not cigarettes. It wasn't cigarettes, you know. And they were smoking some pot, and then we walked over, and a lady came up and asked us, do you work here? And I kept saying to myself, well, not yet. But she said, there's a creepy-looking guy over there, and I need to use the bathroom with my kid. And so we kind of stood over there, and she used the bathroom, and the creepy guy took off. And then we were just kind of walking back to the car, and these 2 guys started yelling at each other, and the language started to get pretty nasty, and it looked like they were going to fight. And so the captain was just standing there, and I knew he was packing, so I just stood on the side. And as these guys got a little closer to each other, and it was about maybe another 3 or 4 feet, I was just going to jump in and say, hey, gentlemen, I don't think you want to do this in front of the new captain. But they kind of toned down and kind of walked away. And we weren't there 10 minutes, and this went bing, bing, bing. And then he just looked and goes, yeah, this is probably a good spot for the club for prevention. Right. And driving home that night, I kept thinking, I couldn't have scripted any better.
I know.
Did he think we, put this, I staged it, Jim staged it, But that was huge because we got the sheriff's endorsement, to be on the park, and that was huge. And a couple of years later, we raised the money and got the club open in 1992.
Great facility.
Think about that area without the club, and think about what that whole area would have become, perhaps. I have a favorite story, and this was with Rosanna
Reyes.
Yeah. Playing softball. She was on another team. They would always kick our tail. and she was a member of the club. But seeing her then in the club and mature and grow up, and now I think she's a nurse. You know, here was a club kid, you know, where all this got started from sports, but it just was a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing, and you said all the kids that you influenced. I do want to get back to one thing that I think the community can participate in, and that's Festival of the Trees.
Yes.
What an amazing event. Obviously, having to be around the holidays, and it's done in December, I believe.
Actually, November. Yeah.
Yeah, late November.
Late November.
Tell us about Festivals of the Trees.
Well, Rhonda Shovanian and her crew, and there's some great volunteers. The Condis, Gary and Myrna, introduced this to us about 10 years ago. And
that's their baby.
That's their baby. And they bring everybody together. And you decorate trees and donate them, or you have a tree made and donated. So we have the 6 and 8 foot trees. We have the tabletops. There's the gingerbread houses.
But you're minimizing what it really is. I mean, there's a UCLA tree. There's a USC tree. There's a West Ranch tree. There's a
Wedding
Golden
tree.
Valley tree. There's
Exactly.
Wine tree.
There's a wine tree.
Yeah.
How do they hold the bottles up on the wine
Right.
tree? I mean, there is something for everyone. And what happens is individuals bid on these trees, and you guys raise a ton of money.
100,000 net.
100,000, and you could take the tree home with you.
Yep.
For the holiday.
And special thanks again to the Condis, where this idea started from, and you know, making it become real.
You know, it just blossomed into something beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
It did.
Yeah.
It did.
Well, we're out of time, but certainly the time you gave was priceless to our community, Jim. I feel better as a person knowing you and getting to know you a little bit. We wish you great things in return. I don't think he's going to be retired long.
I think that's going to
I
be a
think they're going
moment.
to keep luring him out to do
I
something.
think, Jim, thank you.
Thank you
29
very much.
years.
29 years.
This community is a
Thank you,
ton better because of you.
Appreciate
really,
it.
a ton better.
Gary, 25 years with
Thank
the Boys
you.
and Girls Club.
Been a privilege.
Great business person.
Been a pleasure. All
Ladies
right.
and gentlemen, Gary Saenger, Saenger Associates, and Jim Ventress.
Thank you.
The CEO of the Boys and Girls Club for the last 29 years here in the Santa Clarita Valley. Great philanthropists, both of them. So we're going to jump to a quick break, and we'll be right back.